predict this is going to be a great show. On today's Harvest, founder and president of the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, Thomas Glessner, shares on his latest projects. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss any of this Harvest. Thomas Glessner is a member of the Bar Associates for the states of Washington and Virginia and for the United States Supreme Court. He's also the founder and current CEO of the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, a public interest law firm dedicated to giving legal counsel and training to pregnancy help centers. Thomas is also the author of several books, including his latest novel, Destiny's Teen, which we were just chatting about. I was telling him that I was reading it last night. Great story. I mean, great story. Really grabbed me from the very beginning, and there's so many great themes in it. But we'll get to that in just a little while. But what I really also caught my attention was the work that you do with many pregnancy help centers. And I kind of wondered, where did you get that passion for helping people in that type of situation?
Oh, Kelly, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to give that, but the short version of that is my wife and I got involved in the pro-life movement in 1979, so we've been veterans out in Seattle, and just the Lord just brought on our heart, we've got to do something. If we're really Christians, then we better stand up and speak out. And we founded a pregnancy center in Seattle, and I was chairman, and as a lawyer, I incorporated and got the legal stuff moving. And short story is I ended up in Washington, D.C., heading up a national organization, and a lot of the legal stuff we did back in those early days in Seattle, we've transferred now to the current organization that I head up. When we started in Seattle, we were the 35th pregnancy center nationwide in a network called the Christian Action Council. Today there are over 3,000 pregnancy resource centers across the country offering alternatives to abortion.
Now, what type of legal advice or counsel do you usually give people in that situation, or the centers?
Well, it's twofold. NIFLA, or the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, was founded in 1993 because the pregnancy centers have been under such an intense, vicious, mean-spirited attack by the abortion industry. They have slandered them. They've said these centers are bogus. They've worked with attorneys general in various states to close them down. They've filed lawsuits. So we wanted to start a legal organization that would provide legal help to these centers. And the best way to win a lawsuit is never get sued.
Right.
So we do legal audits, we do conferences, provide legal counsel. That's the first part. But the second part that is really critical in what we do is helping centers convert to medical clinic status, because Chuck and I were talking, the center he's involved with as a medical clinic with a medical director, they can provide ultrasound to confirm the pregnancy of a woman who's considering abortion. Now, the statistics show that if a woman is considering abortion and she goes to a pregnancy counseling center, about 20 to 25% of those women will choose life. If that pregnancy counseling center is medical and confirms that pregnancy with the ultrasound, that number jumps up to 90%. I think, Chuck, you were saying your center was saying 93%.
Yeah. Wow, that's huge.
Well, see, the mother sees this little baby on the screen and all denial is gone. And you're a mom, you probably had an ultrasound done. And it's just the whole natural law of God on the heart of that woman takes in, and she sees she is a mother, and she sees the baby's heartbeat, and it's an incredible turnaround rate that we see in these centers.
We're coming up on an anniversary later this month of Roe v. Wade, and there will be much to do about that in the news. A lot of people say, well, why is there so much to do about it? It's been with us for 35, 36 years now. It's part of our culture. But I know you really feel like that decision still has an extreme negative impact on our culture.
Chuck, imagine if tomorrow the headline news reads, 4,000 American soldiers killed in Iraq. And the next day, 4,000 American soldiers killed in Iraq. And the next day, and the next day. And eventually the President of the United States addresses a nation and he says, for the foreseeable future, we will lose 4,000 soldiers in Iraq, 1.2 million a year. The end is not in sight. Now, what I've just described to you is abortion in America. By the time we're done with this broadcast, another 90 children across this nation will have been destroyed in their mother's womb, if you take those statistics. Now, is that not something we should not be appalled about? The Roe v. Wade decision was just, as a lawyer, it was the most incredible legal atrocity, if I could say that. Sometimes when I speak, I say, What if tomorrow the Supreme Court handed down a decision that says car theft is a fundamental constitutional right? Now, you can be opposed to car theft, and no one's forcing you to be a car thief if you want, but don't impose your morality on anybody else. See, that's what the court did in Roe. They took what was a felony in all 50 states and made it a fundamental constitutional right. It was insane. And that decision is affecting the way we look at human life in general. If an unborn baby is considered worthless because it's an inconvenience, what about the elderly, the infirm, the handicapped? What about these people? Are they not just as inconvenient as an untimely pregnancy? And can we not justify their killing as well? And indeed, we're seeing those elements in society come together.